CBS's Steve Hartman finds that sometimes the best lessons happen on the bus ride home from school. Here's this week's On the Road.
It was end of day for students at Carter Middle School in Warren, Michigan. But for those on bus 46 that April afternoon, it was the beginning of an unforgettable ordeal.
All of a sudden, the brakes get slammed.
We all were just terrified and shocked.
And that's when I looked up and saw him.
7th grader Dylan Reeves had grabbed the steering wheel. Soon after, police called the boy's father and stepmother, Steve and Iretta.
Are you the parent of Dylan Reeves? And I said, yes. And I go, what do you do? And he goes, no, this is a good phone call. Your son's a hero. He stopped the bus.
Stop the bus?
What? What?
The officer went on to explain, and security footage shows how Dylan noticed the driver was having a medical emergency and immediately sprang from his seat.
I just knew what to do in that moment. The bus was swerving off the road.
So Dylan took the wheel, hit the brake, and gained control of the situation, saving driver and students.
Someone call 911.
A true hero, no doubt. But we still had a question. Why didn't anyone else notice what was happening? Well, turns out,
Had my AirPods in.
virtually every kid
I was looking at my phone.
was on a device.
I was on my phone playing a little game.
We hear a lot about the consequences of too much screen time. But one thing I never considered until now is the loss of situational awareness. What's happening around them? And yet somehow, at least one kid on that bus instantly recognized what was happening. Any guesses as to why?
I know why, because my son does not have a cell phone.
And Steve says that's the lesson here.
What else are you going to do when you don't have a phone? You're going to look at people, you're going to notice stuff, you're going to look out the window. It's a very powerful lesson. Maybe change the world kind of lesson, I don't know.
At least a save the bus kind of lesson. And they say reason enough to hold off getting him a phone for another day.
How do you feel about that?
Whatever. My parents are old school,
But for good reason.
I guess.
Sometimes even heroes have it hard. Steve Hartman, On the Road, near Detroit.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road for a story about love, loss, and hope.
Working at this vehicle inspection site in Katy, Texas,
Signals work.
was never part of Jalen Gray's plan. Far from it. He actually wanted to be a park ranger, but quit college and gave up the dream.
It's not a really good feeling, giving up at all. But
Sometimes it's not quitting, it's just doing the right thing.
yeah, I had to do what I had to do. So.
As we first reported last year, Jalen's little brother, Julian, became his sole priority.
He's my reason.
His reason and his responsibility. Their mother and only parent died 3 years ago.
I just miss her so much.
From that day on, I swore, at all costs, I'm protecting them.
Unfortunately, their lives went from bad to unbearable.
Nowhere to go.
After that big freeze hit Texas a couple years ago, the pipes burst in their house, the one their mother left them, and ruined everything.
Some strange times.
Then the contractor Jalen hired to fix it took their life savings.
Tragic, isn't it?
The boys were pretty much homeless, living with their last surviving close relative, when a nonprofit called Katy Responds caught wind. The group fixes up houses after natural disasters. Over the years, they've helped more than 100 families, but few more worthy than those boys.
Yeah, it breaks your heart.
Had to help.
Had to.
Executive Director Ron Peters.
They had no idea people would want to jump in and help them.
Which may explain their speechless surprise.
I was overwhelmed.
Thanks to an army of donors and volunteers, the brothers are finally and forever back in their mother's house. Fully renovated, better than ever.
There's just so many nice people in this room right now, and it makes me so happy.
Since we first told this story, life for the boys has only gotten better. Viewers pitched in and are now paying for Jalen to go back to college to become a park ranger.
All expenses paid?
All expenses paid.
What a turn of events for you.
Yeah, no, complete 180. This random acts of kindness helped me get there.
When their mother died, Julian and Jalen thought all they had was each other, but they were off by one whole nation. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Katy, Texas.
Finally tonight, it's that time of the year for Friday night lights in high schools across the country. CBS's Steve Hartman found some undeniable school spirit on the road.
Go! Fight! Sequence fight! Win!
We came to Antioch Community High School near Chicago to meet the record holder, the undisputed champion of showing up. 91-year-old superfan Steve Young hasn't missed a single Antioch football game since 1946. Not that there haven't been close calls, like the summer he got in a traffic accident in a thunderstorm.
I had 11 broken bones, punctured left lung, and while I was laying on a stretcher, I got hit by lightning, knocked me off the stretcher.
Wait. You got hit by lightning while you're on the stretcher?
On the stretcher. They got me in the hospital, and the one doctor said, he's not going to make it. And I said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I said, I've got a game to go to.
And sure enough, a few weeks later, he was at the season opener.
But it's not just football. Steve has also been to virtually every basketball game, softball game, and volleyball match. He goes to tennis matches, golf matches, and even bowling tournaments. He is omnipresent at more than 20 sports, plus plays in concerts.
We talked to students and former students across 3 generations.
He was at our games.
No matter what.
Rain or shine.
Home or away.
Every single one. He's always there.
For some athletes, it's maybe the only person that they have at the game, so.
Steve says that's true. Kids have told him so.
I've had kids come up and say, my parents never show up for anything.
What's that like to hear?
It kind of hits home.
And it's a big reason why he does it. Recently, as a thank you for his 76 years of love and support, the school made Steve Grand Marshal of the homecoming parade and honored him at a game where all that cheering he'd done for others finally echoed back. A resounding message that sometimes the most important thing you can do for a child is just be there, no matter what.
Somehow, some way, I'd make it.
You know, you're not going to live forever. You're going to miss a game.
Who says?
I stand corrected. Steve Hartman, On the Road in Antioch, Illinois.
As we head into the holiday season, there are many things we should all be thankful for, and that includes this week's On the Road, where we get a lesson in what's truly important. Here is CBS's Steve Hartman.
Meet the students at Buffalo Creek Academy in Buffalo, New York. And if you're wondering why the focus on the footwear, it's because that's what the kids do.
When you come to school, people look at your shoes before they even look at your face.
Dean of Culture Bryant Brown says at Buffalo Creek, like at many schools across the country, the more expensive the sneakers, the more elevated the status. And conversely, if you don't have fancy shoes,
it feels bad.
You can be picked on.
You can't do nothing about it.
Melvin Anderson is in 7th grade. He was getting teased for wearing worn-out shoes until one day he showed up in Mr. Brown's class with a bright orange box.
And I asked him who purchased the sneakers, and he said Romello. And I was taken back a little bit, and I was shocked.
Shocked because Romello Early is another kid in the class. Romello says it really bothered him seeing Melvin bullied, so much so that one day he came home in tears and waited for his mother.
When she got home, I said, Mom, you could take away anything you get me for Christmas, or you could take my allowance. I just want to get him some shoes.
Why did this bother you so?
Because nobody deserves to get put down based off a pair of shoes that he's going to eventually grow out of.
So Romello scraped together $135. It was his life savings, but he has no regrets.
It made me feel happy to see that big smile on his face.
Was there a big smile?
Yeah.
Romello says his next goal is to convince fellow classmates that shoes were made for walking, not dividing and diminishing, which is music to the ears of Mr. Brown.
It means everything to have Mello here. Just being a good, role model is going to be infectious, for sure.
What started with a single pair of sneakers may now heal the soul of an entire school. Steve Hartman on the road in Buffalo.
Now a story about the kindness of a stranger and the astounding way it changed a refugee's life. Here's Steve Hartman on the road.
I really like this one.
For Ida Zhugai of Boston, Massachusetts, no matter what shows up under the tree this year, she says no present will ever compare to a gift she got back in 1999 on one of the scariest days of her life. Civil war was raging in Yugoslavia, bombs closing in on her family. So Ida's parents put their 11-year-old daughter and her sister on a plane to the U.S. by themselves. Ida vividly remembers the fear, but remembers just as well the comforting stranger seated next to her, an American.
I remember how kind she was to us, treating us like her family. So it was a bit of a shock, to be honest.
Especially when she handed you the envelope?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that somebody had so much empathy.
The outside of the envelope read in part, "I hope your stay in America will be a safe and happy one." Signed, a friend from the plane, Tracy. And when Ida opened it, she found a $100 bill inside.
Ida and her sister moved in with a relative who didn't have too much more than they did. So that $100 bill fed the family for 3 months. And Ida says it continues to feed her soul to this very day.
That's why I actually kept Tracy's letter, because it's a reminder to me that people are good.
It has also been a main driver in her life. Ida owns 2 businesses that promote environmental and social justice.
The reason why I do what I do is because of Tracy. Every decision that I made had to do with paying it forward. I was wondering if you can help me find Tracy.
A few years ago, Ida put word out on social media, hoping to find the woman who gave her life direction. She spent years searching, until not long ago, when her message finally got through to Tracy Peck of Blaine, Minnesota. Tracy, Ida, and her sister Vanya reunited last weekend.
We just stood there and hugged and cried, and I just felt such a deep love for them.
I can't wait to come to your wedding.
Tracy Peck gave away $100 to total strangers, but she says the gift she has gotten in return is far more precious.
They've taught me the slightest thing that you can do for someone, you don't realize what impact that's going to have on their life. We have no idea.
But if you're lucky, maybe someday, you will. Steve Hartman, CBS News, on the road.
Finally tonight, the journey through junior high school can be a long one for some students. CBS's Steve Hartman has a story of one teenager who truly went the distance on the road.
Under St. Louis's other arch lies Harris Stowe State University.
Historically black university.
Where, last month, school president LaTanya Collins-Smith awarded a full-ride, 4-year scholarship to a boy she just met and knew virtually nothing about.
That kid, that day, it was something that resonated with my spirit.
14-year-old Xavier Jones had started the day on a mission. His grandfather's car wasn't working, and Xavier really wanted to be someplace. So he started walking 6 miles, 2 hours, through tough neighborhoods, busy traffic, and blazing sun.
At one point, he got so thirsty, he begged someone for $1 to buy something to drink. Thought about turning back, but pressed on. All just so he could walk another 30 feet and collect his 8th grade diploma.
If you really want to get something, then you have to work hard for it.
He wanted to be present. Speaks volumes, Steve. half the battle is showing up.
So, on the spot, Colin Smith, who just happened to be in the auditorium that day, awarded Xavier a scholarship. Xavier was thrilled, albeit for the wrong reason.
He thought that a full ride meant he would get a ride to college, like that he wouldn't have to walk here again.
Fortunately, he's got 4 years of high school to process what it all means.
With the whole engineering piece that you want to do.
Until then, he plans to keep up his grades, which were already excellent, and keep stoking that fire in his belly.
Okay. It basically comes from who I am and the kind of person that I want to be.
Which is the same kind of person LaTanya Collins Smith wants in her school.
You know, oftentimes at colleges, we spend a lot of time on standardized test scores because that's who you are, right? It's not true.
Sometimes who you are is better measured by how far you've come. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in St. Louis.
Sometimes life's greatest gifts can come from where we least expect them to. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman, On the Road.
Time to go for a walk.
When John Ivanowski's kidneys started failing and he needed a transplant, the most likely donor match was his daughter, Delaney. But John would have no part of her.
And I was like, well, why can't he just have my kidney? Or just take it now?
I said, no way.
Why so adamant that she not help?
She's the only thing I got.
15 years earlier, John's only other child, Dawson, died of cancer. So the thought of Delaney going through this surgery, no matter how small the risk, was more than he could bear.
After losing Dawson, I don't know what I would do.
Fortunately, a donor stepped forward.
Yep, an anonymous donor.
An anonymous living donor who also just so happened to be living in his basement. Unbeknownst to John, Delaney had spent the last year working with the transplant center here at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, getting tested, going through protocols, and all the while completely deceiving her father. Until this very moment.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
John says he sat there for quite a while, not knowing what to feel.
I started crying. Hard to process everything, you know? It's
because like, anger and gratitude have never been intertwined like they were at that moment.
I'm like, should I kill you now or kill you later?
As time has passed, has gratitude overtaken the anger?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Most parents would give anything for their children. And when those tables turn, it's not really a parent's place to protest, because the kids are just following the example you set.
I would do it over and over and over again if it meant to, like, save him his life and have him here with me.
How do you say thank you?
Just take care of this gift.
The gift from her and the gift that is her. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in St. Louis.
Finally tonight, Harvard Law School is considered to be one of the most prestigious academic institutions in the world. CBS's Steve Hartman introduces us to one of its newest graduates on the road.
No one has ever attended Harvard Law School for its sparkling glass doors or smudge-free countertops. In fact, support staff here say most students never even notice their efforts, with one remarkable exception.
He says, just want to give you a hug and, you know, say hi to you.
They say one day, this one student started thanking all of them.
Thank you for what you do.
And this is something very different.
I'm like, what is this kid's angle?
Food service worker Breon Merchant was skeptical.
Before that, but once I heard his background, that's when it just all made sense. I'm like, oh, you see us because you're one of us. Mm-hmm. For sure.
That student is Rehan Staton. Before coming to Harvard Law, he worked in sanitation.
My job was to refurbish the dumpsters. I've heard people literally point to me and point to my coworker and say, like, don't be like them. I think it just reminds me to stay humble and just remember I wasn't always standing here.
Today, Rehan has not only maintained his humility, he has multiplied it.
Earlier this year, Rehan started a nonprofit called the Reciprocity Effect. Its mission? To guarantee that from now on and forever, the support staff here at Harvard Law would not only be seen, they would be celebrated.
This was the first support staff awards banquet, honoring in Oscar-like fashion the custodians and cafeteria workers and everyone else who makes this place possible.
The feeling of knowing that you are appreciated will always go a long way, especially for those who don't know that.
I think that's what makes what Rehan did so special, is because you didn't even realize how unseen you were until you were seen. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is kind of nice.
Rehan Staten.
In the coming days, a lot of graduates will stand high on a stage, a great vantage point to finally see all the people who lifted them there.
You did it!
Steve Hartman, on the road in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road to catch up with the basketball referee and the player who made the greatest assist of his life.
Not many people get to return to the scene of their death. But as we first reported last summer, John Scully of Rochester, New York, stepped back into the gym where his time expired.
That's the last thing I saw right there, 2:46.
Do you recognize this at all?
John is a basketball referee.
They cut it, right? It's my jersey.
Back in June, John was officiating a semi-pro game between the Jamestown Jackals and Toledo Glass City. That's him on the near side, seconds before his heart attack. The deadliest kind of heart attack, called a widowmaker. Doctors told John's fiancée, Donna, almost no one survives it.
Yeah, 1% of the population, and he's that 1%.
I was in the right place at the right time. I mean, that's why I'm here.
Within seconds, a Toledo player named Miles Copeland rushed to his side and started doing CPR.
I've never witnessed someone just collapse, but I knew what had to be done.
Turns out the Toledo forward is also a Toledo firefighter, a brand new one. At the time, just a year out of the academy.
What does that feel like when all is said and done and you've saved a life?
It's honestly one of the best feelings in the world.
Few moments will ever come close, except maybe
Oh my God.
this one. We invited Miles to stop by the gym. It was their first meeting.
I love you, man. You know I love you.
After quadruple bypass surgery, John said he was feeling much better and hoped to get back on the court someday. Well, it's been 8 months since we first told this story, and number 110 is back in business. He has reffed almost 50 games so far this season and appears none the worse for wear. All thanks to Miles Copeland,
Love you too, man.
who made the ultimate Cinderella story come true.
I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy.
Steve Hartman, on the road in Jamestown, New York.
Beautiful music can soothe the soul, bring a smile to your face, or even a tear to your eye. CBS's Steve Hartman has the story of a young musician that will do all three in tonight's On the Road.
To 11-year-old Jude Kofi of Aurora, Colorado, this surprise was music to his eyes. Obviously, whoever said the best things come in small packages was never gifted a grand piano. Jude's father, Isaiah.
So one day it just shows up at the house?
Yes, all for free. Who does that?
The answer in a moment.
Moses?
But first, the reason. About a year and a half ago, Jude's dad heard a noise coming from the basement. There was an old keyboard down there, but no one knew how to play it. Certainly not his autistic son, Jude. Or so he thought. Isaiah then got Jude a larger keyboard to see what more he could do. And boy, could he do. The kid never had a lesson. No one taught him any of this.
How do you explain that you're as good as you are?
It's a miracle.
You think it's a miracle?
That's what I prefer.
Bill Magnuson prefers that too.
Is he special?
He's beyond special. He's Mozart level. It's coming from somewhere beyond.
Bill is a piano tuner. He saw a local news story about Jude, heard him play, learned how his parents immigrated from Ghana, how they're raising 4 children and sending money back to Ghana.
What resources are left over to help this special little soul?
Yours.
Yeah.
Using an inheritance from his father, Bill bought the piano, spent $15,000. He has promised to tune it once a month for the rest of his life.
Very nice.
And he's even paying for Jude to get professional lessons.
We're family now.
Somebody to just love your son like that by making sure that his future is secured, we are super thankful. Yeah.
Press the pedal.
Caring for other children as your own, the defining note of humanity. Steve Hartman, on the road in Aurora, Colorado.
Finally, tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with an important lesson about the past and the healing power of time.
Never mind the limousine, marching band, and red carpet. What amazes 75-year-old Marvin Jones the most is that he's back at his old high school, period.
Because when I left Brunswick High School in 1966, I said I would never return.
It was a different time. Schools across the South were desegregated, including Brunswick High in Lawrenceville, Virginia, where it fell to Marvin and these 14 other kids to take that first painful step.
On the bus, the students would bring KKK flyers. And when I would come down the hall, they'll close their nose and say, "Here comes a skunk," okay? I felt as if I had leprosy.
Even decades later, those memories haunted. So to heal, Marvin decided to put pen to paper, writing letters to the very students who tormented him.
What did you say in the letters?
I would tell what each person had done to me.
Marvin wrote about 90 such letters to former classmates, pouring out his pain whether people wanted to hear it or not, and most didn't. But one of the letters he mailed struck a different tone, and that letter was very well received.
That is he.
The recipient was Paul Fleshad. Marvin says Paul was one of the few students who never bullied him or said an unkind word.
Really touched me.
Marvin wrote,
"There were many days that I wanted to strike up a conversation with you, and that I perceived you as one of the students I could have been friends."
Did you get a sense that he was trying to open a door?
Absolutely.
And when you saw that, what did you think?
I thought, well, I'm going to go through that door. Hey, buddy.
Marvin and Paul became close friends.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And that friendship eventually led to this.
We acknowledge their sacrifice. We celebrate their legacy.
Last week, Paul and other leaders in the community hosted a ceremony honoring the Brunswick 15. Those 15 brave children who were once treated like untouchables, now embraced with open arms.
It means a lot. It means that we have overcome a lot.
Marvin used to say he never had one good day at Brunswick High School, but almost 60 years later, looks like maybe he finally has. Steve Hartman, on the road in Lawrenceville, Virginia.
Sometimes a small act of kindness can have enormous impact. Steve Hartman found an example on the road.
Amazing grace, how sweet.
After a Richmond, Indiana police officer was shot in the line of duty days before her wedding, the whole community grieved deeply. 28-year-old officer Sierra Burton was beloved. So the idea that anything good could ever come from her passing was unimaginable. Until one day a stranger walked into the department. He held in his hand a white envelope, and inside, a sliver of hope. To information clerk Charlotte Jones, the man appeared to be homeless.
And I told him, I said, this is like the most amazing gift that we have gotten.
Inside the envelope, 8 crumpled up $1 bills and a note that read, "People from the street." He accepted a hug, but insisted on no other recognition.
The man didn't give his name, but he said Officer Burton was kind and would often check in on the homeless. So he took up a collection and got donations from people on the street, people with virtually nothing to give.
They gave that knowing they don't know if they're going to have another dollar tomorrow.
Richmond Police Lieutenant Donnie Benedict.
That is as genuine as you're going to get. I mean, that $8 was like $8 million.
We'll never know exactly who all gave or why. Those answers are hiding beneath the brush and underpasses of Richmond. But by all accounts, Sierra Burton was generous and fair, with a face that always defaulted to a smile.
Does it surprise you at all that
Absolutely
people
not.
on the street?
Not at all. Not with her, no.
Officer Amy Miller was Sierra's stepmom.
What do you hope comes from all this?
People don't forget who she was. And this is part of who she was.
In Sierra's honor, donations for the homeless are already pouring in. But for the department, the greatest gift will always be that simple white envelope.
There's hope out there. There are people out there who will give everything.
Both those in the line of duty and those they serve. Steve Hartman, on the road, in Richmond, Indiana.
It's the age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, for one New Jersey man, the egg always came first. CBS's Steve Hartman explains on the road.
For John Amalfitano, the past is ever present. Everywhere you look in his Dunellen, New Jersey home, there are relics from a bygone era.
I don't know what it is with me. I mean, I just have a connection with old stuff.
And he says no connection runs deeper than the curio in this cabinet.
That's the oddest thing of all.
It's a chicken egg, bequeathed to John by a neighbor who found it in a carton of eggs in 1951. The neighbor saved it because of the note. Whoever gets this egg, please write. Signed, Miss Mary Foss, Forest City, Iowa. John says his neighbor held on to the egg for 50 years and never looked for her. Then John held on to it for another 20 before finally posting pictures on the Weird and Wonderful Secondhand Finds Facebook page. To its 3 million members, he pondered, wonder if she might still be alive.
So, all those people who had egg on their Facebook hatched a plan, scrambled, tried hard to find this Mary Foss. After 72 years, they expected an exhausting search that would not be over easy. But they cracked the case in less than a day. And for those of you keeping track at home, that was 8 puns in 15 seconds. Do you remember writing on that egg?
Oh my goodness, yes.
And you were hoping to find someone to be a pen pal?
Well, who knows? We all dream.
Mary is now 92. But as a teenager working in an egg packing plant like this one, Mary says she used to dream of meeting someone in a far-off place. That fragile little message in a bottle, her way of reaching out.
Yes.
And now, 72 years later, she has finally made her connection.
And here it is.
How are you, egg?
This week, they came face to face for the first time.
And I hope we get to see you again.
Would you want to meet John in person?
Oh, I'd love to meet God, wouldn't you?
Oh.
John. Oh, John. Not really. I have no desire to meet the guy. He's got his problem. Keeping an egg that long.
Yeah, you're saving 70-year-old eggs. Yeah, you got a point there.
Well, and when you get to be my age, you meet a lot of kooks.
Sorry, John. Looks like the yoke's on us.
There's my uplifting ending.
Steve Hartman, on the road in Mason City, Iowa.
How you like your egg?
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with a young fan who found her musical hero from another generation.
While most tweens in America are fawning over Bieber, Swift, and Styles, 11-year-old Paisley Gardner has a different idol, a singer she kept hearing on the radio.
Sounds like an angel somehow.
Sounds like an angel.
Yeah.
What?
Huh? Okay, well, that's kind of odd.
Parents Tony and Jessica say they didn't know what to think when a few months ago their daughter became obsessed with that buttery smooth voice of that 70s soft rock legend, Michael McDonald. They say Paisley was smitten.
Without an image of who this person was.
So one day she Googled a picture of Michael McDonald and she came running up the stairs and flailed herself on the bed and was like, no!
Her pop star turned out to be a grandpop.
I just had to deal with it, but it's okay.
So last month, Tony got tickets to see McDonald here in Des Moines, Iowa. Got them at the last minute for $7 a piece. Eat your heart out, Swifties. And then surprised Paisley with the concert of her lifetime.
You want to go see him?
Yes.
Let's go.
And I almost screamed.
You did scream.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Mr. Michael McDonald.
McDonald is on tour with the Doobie Brothers.
I love you, Michael!
Paisley says she was the youngest fan in the audience by a generation and the only one who actually got to talk to McDonald. Sort of.
He said thank you to me.
That was it.
He said thank you.
And that was enough for her.
He looked at me in the eye and said thank you.
After my visit, I reached back out to Paisley, and we talked about how cool it would be to have a real chat with him.
The odds of that happening would be very, very slim.
Or maybe not.
What's that?
Wait a second, what?
How are you, darling?
What?
It's okay, sweetie.
Eventually, Paisley recovered for a nice conversation.
Is your best friend Christopher Cross?
Well, he's one of my best friends.
And an even nicer invitation.
We'll have you see the show from backstage, maybe. How's that?
A sweet gift for the girl who learned there's so much more to music appreciation.
I love you.
Than hair color. Steve Hartman, on the road, in Des Moines.
People often say that you should never meet your heroes because they will never live up to your expectations. CBS's Steve Hartman found out on the road that's not always the case.
Watching 8-year-old Chloe Grimes talking smack, hitting liners, and throwing heat. You'd never guess she's also fighting cancer and has been off and on since the age of 2. The girl has grit.
Yeah.
Which is why the Tampa Bay Rays recently invited Chloe to toss out a first pitch.
All right.
She threw it to a player named Brett Phillips, who now believes this moment wasn't so much ceremonial as it was serendipitous.
Good to see you. What a story, right? You can't not think that there's just some, divine intervention.
Yeah.
Brett Phillips, number 35, is Chloe's favorite player, even though he's not exactly an all-star.
He's not the best hitter,
I know, but he's so nice.
What's up, guys?
She's got that right. This is a player who comes out 20 minutes before every game to talk with kids.
How you doing, man?
Almost to the point of parenting.
How are those grades?
He'll make time for people, even in the middle of a play. I've never seen a professional athlete so devoid of bravado, especially on the day Chloe walked into his life.
I had the chance to meet Chloe for the first time, and she's battling cancer, and she brought me these gifts. She wrote my name on a softball, and holy cow.
Among those gifts,
I'm gonna wear it tonight, all right?
a bracelet.
It's gonna bring me good luck, huh?
And sure enough, that night, not just a home run.
It was the hardest ball I've hit in my major league career.
If not for the roof, it might have left the building. Needless to say, Brett won't be taking off that bracelet anytime soon. Although Chloe insists that she got the better gift.
He gave me spirit to, like, beat the butt out of cancer.
And to Brett Phillips, that smile is what baseball is all about.
Yeah.
I've been blessed with a platform to spread joy and love on a daily basis.
What are you doing?
This week, Brett surprised Chloe at her house, cemented their friendship, and earned himself the greatest title in professional sports, most valuable presence in a child's life.
How was school?
Good.
Steve Hartman, on the road in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Now, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with a group of teens who got some unexpected friend requests after offering support to local seniors.
The residents at Brookdale Senior Living have a wealth of wisdom, but many also have a gap in that knowledge. Most notably,
Look at all these different things.
how do you work this telephone gizmo?
Even turn it on.
That was hard.
Right. My email was not coming in.
I don't know where things are.
It's just not easy.
Help! Tell me how to run it.
Enter our heroes, a group of computer-savvy Gen Zers who march in once a week to Control S the day. But why?
A couple years ago, some students here at Canterbury School in Fort Myers, Florida, were joking about how bad their grandparents were at anything technical. But when the laughter faded, one of them was struck with a seriously good idea.
Yeah, it's called CLEO. It stands for Computer Literacy Education Outreach.
Aaron Smolyar, along with friends Christian Lakis and Derek Hunican, started the CLEO Club and tried to partner with Brookdale.
Yeah, initially we tried emailing, but I think maybe we got like put in the spam
They didn't know how to
folder
use
or
email?
something. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, it's right next door. It was before we could drive, so we just walked over after school.
And they've been volunteering ever since.
Okay, then go to Photos icon.
Jonathan Smith couldn't figure out how to text a picture.
Do I poke it?
Yeah, you just click it.
And that's all there is to it?
Yeah, click it.
Nancy Kilpatrick wanted to clear out her inbox for the first time.
122,000 emails? Yes.
Fortunately, Nancy learned you don't have to delete them one at a time.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Oh.
For the kids, it's not always easy.
I'm getting it.
All right.
But they keep coming back, week after week.
I've never had that before.
Those young people are just amazing.
A great group. They're a blessing, you know.
And they have so much patience with us.
We're on a first-name basis now.
And those friendships may be the best part, because eventually the devices go dark, but the conversation continues, proving that as a communication tool, smartphones always work best, powered off.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Steve Hartman, on the road.
Come by next week.
Oh, I am.
In Fort Myers, Florida.
Alrighty.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with a story about faith, friendship, and freedom.
Seeing her there, cuddled up with her crossword, you would never guess 80-year-old retired school teacher Ginny Schrappen had a pen pal in the penitentiary, especially not one accused of that terrible 6-letter word that starts with M.
He was in prison for murder.
So I got to ask, what were you thinking?
I've been accused of being naive before, and that's okay. I wasn't worried. He's not going to come and get me.
No? We'll answer that door in a minute. But first, how did this sweet little lady cross paths with Lamar Johnson, a man serving a life sentence in a Missouri prison?
25 years ago, a deacon at Ginny's church outside St. Louis handed her a letter from this prisoner. The guy had written the church hoping that someone, anyone, would just write back.
And so I did it. What was it going to cost me? A stamp.
Over the next 2 decades, they corresponded constantly. And although Ginny says she could tell right from the start that there was no way that nice boy committed murder, it would take the state of Missouri 28 years to confirm her intuition.
Is granted.
A couple months ago, after the Midwest Innocence Project got involved and the real killer confessed, Lamar was exonerated at the age of 49.
You did it, Lamar.
Lamar spent the next few weeks doing all the things he couldn't do in prison,
Mr. Johnson hugging a tree.
including traveling to see one of his best friends at her house for the very first time.
Look at you!
Ginny welcomed him in, gave him a tour,
This was a new window.
a box of his favorite cereal, and one last letter.
You deserve the best, Lamar.
But Lamar says the greatest gift will always be the confidence she instilled in him.
Especially when somebody is innocent. You want someone to believe in you. Because when you have people that believe in you and they won't give up on you, then it makes it harder for you to give up on yourself.
Lamar says that's what helped get him through 28 years of injustice and now inspires him to serve a life of friendship. Steve Hartman, On the Road, near St. Louis.
What a guy.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman goes on the road with a high school football star who's using lessons from his painful past to give others a brighter future.
When Lincoln East High School football phenom, wide receiver Malachi Coleman announced he'd be playing for Nebraska next season, it was the completion of the ultimate Hail Mary. 12 years earlier, Malachi's mother left him and his younger sister by the side of the road and never returned. Malachi suffered abuse in the foster system until eventually he and his sister were adopted by a loving family. But so much damage had been done.
He was a broken kid.
Parents Miranda and Craig Coleman.
Like, he lived for today and only today, and nothing mattered.
A mean and selfish jerk, by his own admission, who refused to do anything kind for anybody.
Yeah, because nobody had really helped me up to that point, you know.
So why should you help them?
Yeah.
So, when the Nebraska School Activities Association ruled that high school athletes could now profit off their name and likeness, it came as no surprise that Malachi was first in line. The shocker was how he planned to spend it.
Never could have predicted.
No, it was his idea.
They say Malachi walked into this local restaurant and offered to promote a burrito on condition a portion of the profits go to one cause.
Put it towards advocating for the foster care system.
Nick Maestas is the owner.
How would you not want to be on board with that?
This kid's remarkable transformation actually began a few years earlier after an hour-long argument in which Miranda insisted he do something selfless.
Yeah, I threw out at least 100 ideas of things he could do. And exasperated, I finally said, what about holding a door? Can you hold one door for one person? And he finally was just like, I can hold a door.
The next day at school, he held a door, then another, and another. At church, he held the door for the entire congregation, till now he says kindness is his passion.
Hi, Miss Daly.
So you're saying all this charity stemmed from you holding a door for someone?
Yes, because once I realized how good it makes me feel to help other people, it's just something that I knew that I wanted to continue in my life.
Hopefully opening many more of the most important doors, the ones leading to a forever family. Steve Hartman, On the Road, in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Have you ever felt that you could use a little pep talk to help make it through the day? You know, asking for a friend? CBS's Steve Hartman has a solution that is straight from the mouths of babes. On the Road.
Here at Westside Union Grade School in Healdsburg, California, we found all the inspiration you'll ever need.
Okay, 1,
Just hit record.
3.
If you're feeling deflated, do what you like best. It reinflates you.
Pearls like that.
Fabulous.
Little unscripted motivational gems are being collected and cataloged for this free telephone hotline.
Hi, welcome to Pep Talk, a public art project by Westside School. If you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, press 1.
Go get your wallet and spend it on ice cream and shoes.
Whatever your worry, they've got a solution.
If you need words of encouragement, press 2.
Be grateful for yourself.
Whatever your insecurity, they'll restore confidence.
If you need a pep talk from kindergartners, press 3.
You can do it!
The hotline is the brainchild of teachers Ashera Weiss and Jessica Martin. They thought family and friends might enjoy calling the number, but
there's no way you could have imagined what happened.
No, it was very shocking.
Pep Talk is now getting up to 9,000 calls per hour, roughly 500,000 total and counting.
It turned into a big thing.
Spread it all around the world. I was not expecting it to go this viral.
Miss Jessica is really good at making a hotline.
I don't think it's her. I think it's you guys.
Okay. People in our school did a great job.
They sure did.
You guys gave a gift to the world.
And the teachers say it's more than those messages.
Adults support children, but we don't really celebrate how much they support us. And to be able to be comforted by them gives us great hope that maybe we're all going to be okay.
And if you ever doubt that, you know who to call.
Be happy!
Steve Hartman, on the road.
I'm so proud of you.
In Healdsburg, California.
Finally tonight, they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. CBS's Steve Hartman found one home where it's good for the body and the soul on the road.
They come together at the crack of dawn from all directions, converging on this tiny house in St. Louis, Missouri, for their weekly Wednesday visit with 66-year-old Peggy Winkowski.
It's raining. Grandma Peggy brings everyone together. She's just like a built-in grandma to all of us. She cares for us a lot. She really cares for us.
The students who visit Grandma Peggy attend Bishop DeBerg High School and are part of what they call the Wednesday Breakfast Club. Seeing the spread, you can understand why kids might want to come here. But what isn't so clear is how Peggy got roped into hosting.
The Wednesday Breakfast Club actually used to meet at this diner. Until one day, a kid named Sam Crow said, "You know, my grandma could cook better than this." So the next Wednesday, they showed up at her doorstep.
I'm like, okay. And they came all school year every Wednesday.
That was back in 2021, and it continued merrily until that day when all joy was lost. About a year and a half ago, Peggy's grandson Sam, a sophomore at Bishop DeBerg, was killed in a hit and run. The boy was beloved, so of course breakfast was the last thing on anyone's mind. And yet, the very next Wednesday, and virtually every Wednesday since during the school year, the kids have returned to Grandma Peggy's in numbers far greater than before.
Sam would be so proud. Look at what he started.
Everyone coming together for a heaping helping of healing.
It melts my heart.
It's really not about the food. It's just about being together.
We benefit from her. She benefits from us. It's like we feed off each other.
And we're like keeping his memory alive. So yeah.
Good morning, guys.
Everyone grieves differently, but those who manage it best always seem to blanket themselves with kindred spirits, sharing the burden, teaching each other to laugh again, and building tradition to make sure those memories are as snug and sustaining as a warm meal at Grandma's.
This is the best morning.
Steve Hartman, on the road, in St. Louis.
Makes Wednesday so much fun.
Finally tonight, a reminder of some of the most important things in life. Old friends, old cars, and a chance to feel young again. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
If there's anything even remotely good about having ALS, 56-year-old Craig Reagan of College Station, Texas, says it may be a heightened sense of gratitude. Gratitude for caregivers like his wife Nancy, friends like his dog Taco, and memories like his '73 Ford Mustang, which, even though it stopped running back in 1999, has taken up permanent residence at his house.
It's a big paperweight.
Big paperweight. Why did you keep it?
I just had such an attachment to it.
He's had it since high school.
He was proud of it.
Craig had hoped that someday his boys might want to fix it up with him, but they showed no interest in cars. Then he planned to do it himself, but ALS had other plans. So the car sat rotting until some old high school friends caught wind.
And everybody, as soon as I called these guys, they were like, yeah, let's do it.
It's in your heart. You just got to help somebody like that.
So, for the next year, they went to work on it, put in hundreds of hours, while other classmates paid for parts. And not long ago,
are you ready, Craig?
that big, immovable paperweight
1,
was ready to lift off.
3!
It was just almost like a piece of him.
That came back to life?
That came back to life.
Pretty vividly, actually.
Okay.
I'm ready when you are.
Craig was diagnosed with ALS in 2016. The disease is incurable, but he has clearly found his treatment.
What's it like to be back in it?
I feel like I'm a teenager.
And as for the people who made this moment possible, they insist the bigger gift was the lesson they received.
He reminded us of something maybe we forgot.
Yeah.
Just do good stuff for people. That's all that matters. Just do good stuff today.
Do good stuff today. No better medicine on earth. Steve Hartman, on the road in College Station, Texas.
McDonald's restaurants serve billions of hamburgers every year, but there's one restaurant where the workers are the ones being served and saved, thanks to a very special woman. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman with this week's On the Road.
Of all the fates that could have fallen on 18-year-old Emmanuel Graham, business student at the University of Massachusetts Lowell seemed most unlikely of all. Both his parents died before his 13th birthday.
After those years, I kept messing up at school because both of my biggest support systems, they were gone.
So you were rudderless all the way through junior year in high school?
I didn't think I would make it to college or senior year.
Emmanuel credits his remarkable turnaround, at least in part, to a mentor, a woman who has offered countless kids in Lynn, Massachusetts, a heaping helping of love and guidance, along with a side of fries.
Hola! I get so excited when I walk in the door because I know what I'm coming to now. I'm coming to my family.
This is McDonald's assistant manager, Andrea De La Rosa. Emmanuel used to work for Andrea and gave her the nickname Mama McDonald's.
I appreciate you, Mama.
You never stop being a mother just because they're not your kids.
To Andrea, managing young people on their first jobs is about so much more than barking orders. It's about listening.
I went to school today.
Helping with homework, college applications, really any issue, at any hour, for every kid who works here.
She treats me as if she's her child. She always checks on me. She makes sure I have everything that I need.
It doesn't matter what time of the day it is. At night, she'll pick up.
She will pick up. I don't have a relationship with my mother. Dre gives me the mother figure that I never had.
It's just a little bit of kindness, a little bit of love that means the world to somebody.
At a time when most employers are offering incentives if you stay, Andrea is offering unconditional love, no matter where your career takes you. And as a result, employees are receiving bonuses of immeasurable value.
To have a person of support to help me go through it, it kind of slowly healed what I was missing.
And as for his future, Emmanuel says he doesn't know yet what kind of business he'll go into. He just knows the kind of boss he wants to be. Steve Hartman, on the road in Lynn, Massachusetts.
Finally tonight, CBS's Steve Hartman visits an old friend who likes giving complete strangers the benefit of the doubt. We find out why on the road.
From a desperate place across the Atlantic, a suspicious message went out. My name is Joel from Liberia, West Africa. I need some assistance from you, business or financial assistance that will help empower me. And 6,000 miles away, a stranger answered.
I just wanted to go down this rabbit hole and see what were the tricks that they used to get people.
You were wrong about him.
So I took him for a scammer, but he showed me that there was a different side to him.
As we first reported in 2018, Ben Taylor of Ogden, Utah befriended the stranger and helped him help himself. He worked with Joel to make a little booklet about his life.
And I sold it online to whoever was interested in the story or whoever was just interested in helping a guy out.
And from those sales, Joel was able to earn hundreds of dollars.
Is this your home?
Oh yeah, this is my home.
Ben even visited to see the results of their partnership firsthand.
Brand new roof.
That looks good, man.
Yeah.
As you might expect, after that story first aired, lots of people tried to seize on Ben's kindness. His spam folder blew up with supposedly desperate pleas, like the woman in Cameroon who said she needed money for reconstructive plastic surgery. The same letter had been circulating on the internet for years. It was even posted on a scam reporting website.
But I read into her story and it felt like something that I couldn't ignore.
So you believe somebody again?
I did a lot of work to kind of get to the bottom of it.
Turns out the story is true. Chica Ordery had a botched surgery as a child that left her with intermittent but excruciating pain.
Hi, Chica Ordery.
So, a couple months ago,
It's me, Mr. Ben.
Ben did as he'd done before.
How are you?
Flew to see the woman so many others had written off as a scammer, and showed her the book,
This is the book
that would pay for her operation.
that you wrote. It's just a lot of fun to see people kind of be the hero of their own story. Hi, Chica Ordery. You look like someone who just got out of surgery.
Thanks to you, Mr. Ben.
Twice now, Ben Taylor has gone halfway around the world to help a stranger and inspire you. Not to go answer your spam mail, just open your mind to the possibility that some people may be better than you think.
How you doing?
Steve Hartman, CBS News, on the road.
On this Friday, a reminder that living your dream often inspires others to do the same. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
I chose to tell this story mainly for an audience of one.
Yes.
This is my nephew, Ted. And as I first reported a few months ago, Ted says at times his blindness feels insurmountable.
I see.
I thought like I was doomed. that does sound a little immature, but
A woe is me kind of feeling?
yes. I really want to be like everybody else sometimes, you know.
And that's why, when I heard about this drag racer attempting to set a new world speed record, I thought Ted and others like him had to meet the driver. In 2012, Dan Parker of Columbus, Georgia, got in a crash. He suffered a traumatic brain injury so severe it blinded him.
I never imagined I'd be back in the seat of a race car. But I've been a racer my whole life. I just had to figure out another way to do it.
A machinist by trade, Dan got adaptive equipment so he could make parts,
2.9.
and then designed this entire race car.
That just amazes me. What does he look like?
Mustache and a beard?
I don't have a mustache.
You have a mustache?
See? Whiskers? I hope nobody sees them.
Oh, don't worry about it. That won't be an issue. Anyway, back to our story.
Dan was attempting to set the Guinness record for fastest car driven blindfolded. Of course, no blindfold was needed, but he did have a special audio guidance system and, for safety purposes, a sighted driver next to him, hands hovering over the steering wheel just in case. It wasn't necessary. Dan went 211 miles an hour, set a record, and more importantly, an example.
Ted, I want you to know that blindness is not what is stopping you. Surround yourself with believers and go for your dreams. You can make excuses or make it happen.
New Guinness World Records title.
Dan says inspiring the Teds of the world is the main reason he did this. And if my nephew is any indication, it was well worth the drive.
If you can do that, well, then I think I could easily pursue my dream. Wait, what about flying and plane?
Our original story ended with that light bulb moment. And among those watching was Sydney Irish of Roosevelt, New York, who offered to give flight to Ted's dream.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, pull back and you're up.
This is so fun. I'm flying.
For the kid who once thought he was doomed just because he couldn't see, the kind inspiration of others has clearly opened his eyes.
And you are down.
Steve Hartman, CBS News.
I can't even explain how much fun this was. It was
On the road.
Finally tonight, Steve Hartman goes on the road with a man using the power of music to honor his past and provide hope for the future.
What would compel a man, a retired businessman, to become a street performer, playing for bills in a bucket at the age of 83? Is it love? Loss? Purpose?
Yes, yes, yes. On our honeymoon.
Larry Kingsley says the love part is Georgianne, his wife of 23 years.
Did she always put her head right there?
Usually. I liked it there.
Unfortunately, she's also the loss part. 4 years ago, Georgianne was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
And the doctor says, you know, it's going to be difficult. I said, I know, but I'm married to her, so I'm going to be with her.
And with her, he was. When Larry got out the old trumpet he bought back in his Air Force days and started playing 3 times a week on a sidewalk in Cary, North Carolina. Larry says Georgianne loved it, although she was confused.
In fact, she used to yell at him. "Why don't you get a real job?" she'd say. Assumed he was out here panhandling. And Larry laughed it off, knowing that, in a way, this had become his job, his mission.
Every donation goes toward finding a cure. Every dollar, a fulfillment of Larry's newfound purpose.
The day that she died, I played that night.
Wow.
But in my mind, I just say the show goes on.
After Georgianne died last year, Larry started playing 6 nights a week. He has now raised more than $15,000 and has vowed to keep it up until Alzheimer's is just a memory. Steve Hartman, on the road in Cary, North Carolina.
Finally tonight, the story of a man on a never-ending mission of kindness and how it's changing lives. Here's CBS's Steve Hartman on the road.
At the bottom of a hole in Chesterfield County, Virginia, utility worker Calvin Gaudette is fixing a leaky water main. But no gusher down here compares to the fountain of good deeds he delivers up there. Whether it's buying coffee for the next car,
take care of the people that behind me,
or groceries for a random shopper,
I'm gonna pay for this.
Calvin gives away about half his income to total strangers.
I'm gonna fill your truck up for you.
In return, he may get a thank you.
Why's that?
At best. But he remains undaunted.
You don't never know. You could do something for somebody or talk to someone and you could change the whole situation.
He says it happened once.
You can come around, thank you.
A few months ago, Calvin was in this Burger King drive-thru when he happened to look in his rearview mirror and saw a woman who just seemed sad. So Calvin did what Calvin does, bought her meal. Only this time, his random act of kindness would not soon be forgotten.
Somebody to do something that nice for you on that very moment when I thought nothing could make me happy again. It just touched my heart. This is Andy.
Denise Walters had just lost her husband of 41 years.
I just wish he was still here.
And says Calvin's kindness was exactly what she needed at exactly the right time. In fact, it had such a profound effect, she chased him down, told his boss, and got him recognized before the County Board of Supervisors.
He saw that I was upset and showed compassion to a complete stranger.
How you doing?
Since then, they have stayed in touch and grown their circle.
Nice to meet you. I'm Chris.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Told us you may have lost your husband, but you gained a family.
He's just an amazing man. Just an amazing man.
He's also her new role model.
I want you to have this.
Denise is now doing the same thing.
He has shown me the way.
So you feel like you're on a mission now?
Oh, absolutely. If he can do this, I can do this. Okay.
And maybe
Can I have a hug?
we can do this.
Go spread that joy somewhere, okay?
Steve Hartman.
Thank you.
On the road in Chesterfield County, Virginia.